Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Shenanigans to Significance. And this is an experience I recently had in a Dungeons and Dragons game that I have been playing, that I am playing in on my Sunday evening game. So basically, so I'll set this up. All right, so basically our Sunday game is pretty unique. We have, we get together at 6 o'clock. One dungeon master runs from the 6 to 8 p.m. slot. Another dungeon master runs from 8 to 10 p.m. Each dungeon master gets a 4-session arc. And so you get a month. So essentially you have to run a campaign in 8 hours, right? And you can run whatever you want. It doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons. There's no session zeros. The one rule we do have at the table is we run a PG-13 game. Everybody's got to run a PG-13 game, and so that's important, and that also allows us to skip a session zero. I detest session zeros; that's its own thing. So basically, and everybody at the table is a dungeon master, right? And so it's a really unique structure, right? So we have what I call and we have different dungeon masters, right? So who are the dungeon masters? There's me, Scott Garibay. And then also we have our mechanical dungeon master, our dungeon master who's best at mechanics, our dungeon master who's best at narrative, our dungeon master who's the most dedicated, our dedicated dungeon master. And we got a few more in their mix, and we have our Shenanigans dungeon master, right? So our Shenanigans dungeon master is relatively new. He's been playing for about a month or two, and he is dedicated to running Dungeons and Dragons, to playing Dungeons and Dragons to have fun, and to running Dungeons and Dragons is fun. You're like, wait a second, Scott, you got somebody who's running, who's dungeon mastering in your Sunday game, who believes that Dungeons and Dragons, the purpose of Dungeons and Dragons is fun? Yes. How'd that happen? That's a great question. Let's talk about it, right? So one, I'm vehemently opposed to the purpose of Dungeons and Dragons being fun, right? I think it's the most shallow, most useless. It's shallow and useless. I don't think fun is the end goal of Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's honestly I'm opposed to it. And I've spoken this at length, right? So why do I have this person here? Well, I'll tell you. So I have friends. I'm just a human, just like you. I got friends, right? And I've known this person for 15 years, right? And we've played Magic the Gathering together. We played a lot of tabletop role-playing games together, Dungeons and Dragons and others. And he's went through trials. I've went through trials. He knows me and my family. I don't know if I've ever met anybody in his family. That's interesting. But we're friends, right? And so that's the answer. So basically, this guy moved away to New Jersey and then came back to Pennsylvania, and I don't think that New Jersey experience was very good for him. He was like, I'm back, there were no good stories attached to New Jersey. There are rarely good stories attached to New Jersey in my experience. That's its own thing. All right, so basically, so he came back to Pennsylvania, and he's like, hey, and he called me and he said, hey, I've heard really good things about your game, and he respectfully said, I'd like to come in, right? And I said, all right, okay, let's have this conversation. And I was like, so he texted me, asked to come into the game, and I said, okay, tomorrow I'm going to give you a call, at this time, we're going to talk for 30 minutes. And so I gave him a call, and I just laid it out and said, hey, here's all, these are the rules of the game, right? Now that first of all, you're going to dungeon master, and you're going to play, and you're going to show up, and you're going to show out. And I gave him my whole list, right? Of you're going to do this, you're not going to do that, right? And but I didn't say, hey, you have to play Dungeons and Dragons my way, like you have to abandon fun, because that's I have to sell people on them. I can't tell them that, right? Like I need to teach them. I need to lead the horse to water, So he respectfully said, I'm in. I'll do all that, right? So I'm like, great. I'll see you Sunday, right? And so he came in, right? And he patiently waited, and he was a great player in everybody else's game, and it came time for him to Dungeon Master, and so he brought a Shenanigans game. And that Shenanigans it's Dungeon Dragons 5th edition, but it's pure Shenanigans, right? And none of this surprised me. I knew he was going to bring a Shenanigans game, right? I don't like Shenanigan games, right? But the reality is, I really feel like I got a tiger by the tail with this Sunday game. It is working out fantastically. I really like it a lot. And I think the biggest attraction of this thing is that you get to Dungeon Master. First of all, the vast majority of people in my circles are, charismatic, confident, and intelligent, which means they can Dungeon Master, right? And that is a draw. I can't tell you how many. I think there are a lot of people who want to Dungeon Master, have a million different stories in their head, want to build worlds, and the idea that you can jump into a game and within a month or two you're Dungeon Mastering, that's really attractive. And right now we are quite literally at capacity. I just did some table configuration we can now scale up to 8 players in my kitchen, in my dining room, right? And I had to do some work to get us there, right? But it ain't gonna be comfortable if we scale up to 8. Right now we're at 6 people at the table, and we got and actually there's a possibility we can have 7 on any given right now, right? As things stand, right? So you have all this, and then all this is happening, and so he starts up the Shenanigans game, right? Now his Shenanigans game is a campaign called House of Doors. So we show up in his world. There's no name to the world. That's frustrating, right? And I'm just kind of like, why isn't this in Forgotten Realms, right? So we show up at his world, and there's no name for this thing. And that's a little frustrating to me, because I like to make plans, and I don't know what to plan if I don't really know your world. And he's like, oh, be patient, and you'll learn it, and I'm like, I'd much rather be able to read during the week what the world is, rather than have to wait for you to parcel out each thing, right? So we get in, and basically the first thing we do is we arrive by skyship at a port, some unnamed port, and we're taken to this house, right? And this I'm not kidding you, a gnome named Kevin comes out, and he goes, oh, welcome, victims, contestants, right? And I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? And he says, you guys are going to go through this house, and and you have to clear 30 rooms in the house, right? 30 rooms is the record, right? Can you guys clear more than that, right? And I was like, what do we get for going in here? And he's like, nothing, but you can keep any treasure you find. And I'm like, well, I would like 1,000 gold. And he's like, no. And so there's kind of a scrape back and forth. And finally, we leave. I said, hey, everybody, let's go back to the tavern and look at the job boards. Maybe we can work as a mercenary or a caravan support, or, and I wholeheartedly rejected the DM's, proposed idea. The reason why I was like, I'm not going to get tricked into go in this house, become his victim, for no gold. This is ridiculous, right? So we go back to the tavern, and he had a non-player character tell us, hey, I went through the house and I got a Holy Avenger. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's worth a lot more than 1,000 gold. We'll go right back. And so we did, and we started going through the house. So you go into the house, and the moment you pass through the door, you're in a new realm, right? And so in the first round, we fought were-tigers. In the second round, we fought a giant named Miss Tilly. In the third round, we fought a helm horror. In the fourth round, we fought, I think it was an Onkag, right? And so we're just going through, and it's a Shenanigans game. And I'm not saying that. He's literally, the DM will tell you, oh, I love Shenanigans. I love to just do crazy stuff, right? And he's got this random table, and we're rolling for treasure on the random table, right? So here's the part where it got interesting. So it's just a Shenanigans game, right? Now I'm ready to write it off. I'm like, I'll be in this for 4 sessions, and that's that. I don't really like, games that are designed for shenanigans. I like really well-crafted, narrative stories that tell, that have a moral and tell some kind of story, right? And this is not that. But what shocked me is it shifted. It shifted before session 1 was over, right? And I was really shocked. So the DM, he advertised it as a Shenanigans game, but by the end of the session, I realized it was a Significance game. Why a Significance game? Well, one of the things that the Dungeon Master had placed on this random loot table that we would roll on was dragon eggs. And so we were getting these dragon eggs, and I realized every player character got a dragon egg. A silver dragon egg, or a bronze dragon egg, or a gold dragon egg. All metallic dragon eggs. Now, metallic dragons are good. And we have these dragon eggs. And at the end, literally as the Dungeon Master, the Shenanigans Dungeon Master, is putting on his backpack and getting ready to leave, he says, "So, you guys all have dragon eggs now. You'll have to be sure to raise them right." I was like, "What?" I was shocked, right? It shifted. It shifted from Shenanigans to Significance, right? And here I was thinking, oh my gosh. 1, I'm a dragon parent. Two, I'm going to get to ride a dragon soon. Right? And it completely shifted the campaign, right? Because now, before we're just going through and hacking to death helm horrors and were-tigers and giants, but suddenly we have these creatures that we need to care for, right? And not only are these creatures that we care for, at some point they could be a mount, they could be a friend, they could be a friend and a mount. It's really quite interesting, right? Imprinting and parenting and a whole, care of magical creatures, right? And the whole, the entire game shifted from this Shenanigans, campaign that I thought I was going to have to endure to a Significance campaign. Now, what does that... Now, first of all, I'm really excited about it. So now I'm excited about the campaign, right? Because I would love to raise a dragon. I've never done that in Dungeons & Dragons before. That's going to be awesome, right? But the other thing I was wondering is, I know this guy, and he is legit, committed to Shenanigans. He is a Shenanigans guy, right? It's his thing, right? So I was like, how did we get here? How did we get from Shenanigans to Significance? I think it's because of Dungeons & Dragons. I truly believe Dungeons & Dragons changes people, right? And the reality is you can't be in the Dungeons & Dragons pool for very long without being drawn to the purpose and the meaning and the wisdom and the passion and the art that Gary Gygax put there. And that, and that Lorraine Williams carried forward. And that Amanda Heyman carries forward today. It's built by brilliant, passionate, wonderful people. And you cannot be connected to Dungeons & Dragons for long before it will take your shenanigans and turn them to significance, right? I'm very excited about this game. My Shenanigans DM has really surprised me, shifting from shenanigans to significance. Very, very interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.